Hello and welcome to Business Incorporated. Many thanks for joining us. I am Bolaji Akinwale. On this week's edition of the program, we will be looking at the Nigerian industrial sector. Of course, early in the year, the federal government launched the Nigeria Industrial Revolution Plan. It is a 5-year plan which is aimed at turning around the manufacturing sector of the Nigerian economy, building of industries, improving upon key infrastructures in the country, and in the long term, improve on the standard of living of Nigerians. Our guest to talk about this issue is the president of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He is Mr. Remy Bello. But before we bring in Remy Bello to talk to us about the issues in the industrial sector, let's bring you some headlines.
Nigeria's food import bill dropped by over 400 billion naira to 684.7 billion naira by December 2013. According to the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, the government also said that the sum of 50 billion naira had been set aside as Agricultural Mechanization Fund. Dr. Akinwumi Adesina also stated that the country's food import bill had continued to decline since 2009. Dr. Adesina spoke in Abuja at the inauguration of the 100,000 metric ton silos complex and the private sector-driven agricultural equipment hiring enterprises. Smallholder farmers are witnessing a refreshing new dawn as the country's food import bill has declined from 1.1 trillion naira in 2009 to 684.7 billion naira by December 2014.
The high cost of land clearing is a major disincentive for the expansion of cultivated area, especially in the southern parts of the country due to the dense vegetation, while the high cost of mechanization from plowing to harvesting pose great challenges to farmers all across the country. A farmer with access to a tractor will be able to plant 10 hectares per day, compared to just 1 hectare per day if the same operation is being done manually with hoes and cutlasses with human labor.
Dr. Adesina also noted that despite the gains in the sector, there were still challenges and stated that one of such challenges is a low level of mechanization of the agriculture sector. He added that the number of tractors per 100 square kilometers in Nigeria is less than 10, compared to over 728 in the United Kingdom, 257 in the USA, 200 in India, 130 in Brazil, and 125 in the Philippines. The president noted that the federal government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, had made available the sum of 4.5 billion naira to support the provision of affordable refinancing facilities through the Bank of Agriculture. Royal Dutch Shell has sold 4 of its oil fields in Nigeria as the company tries to cut costs. Reports say Shell is close to selling the assets for about $5 billion to domestic buyers. No details were available as to when the full process will be completed. Last year, Shell put up for sale 30% of its shares in 4 oil blocks in the Niger Delta, as well as a key pipeline, the Nemba Creek trunk line. In the meantime, France's Total and Italy's Eni are also set to raise revenue from the sale of their 10% and 5% shares in the assets. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation owns the remaining 55%. In March, there was a report that 2 Nigerian firms, Taluveras and Iteco, made the highest bid of $2.85 billion for the biggest of the 4 oil fields, OML 29. The naira firmed against the greenback on Wednesday, lifted by dollar sales from local units of foreign oil companies seeking to fund their month-end obligations. The local unit closed at 162 naira 5 kobo to the US dollar, stronger than Tuesday's close of 162 naira 20 kobo. Dealers say the local units of ExxonMobil sold $50 million and Italy's Eni sold $5 million on Wednesday to boost dollar liquidity, in addition to Total and Chevron, which both sold a combined $117 million on Tuesday. Nigerian units of foreign oil firms usually buy the naira towards the end of the month to meet their local obligations. Dealers also expect potential inflows from offshore investors buying local currency debt following news that Nigeria's 2024 bond will be added to JP Morgan's government bond index, emerging markets.
Remy Bello is the president of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It talks to Business Incorporated about the challenges facing the industrial sector and, of course, what the federal government can do to ensure that businesses thrive in the economy. Thank you, Mr. Remy Bello, for your time with us on the program.
Thank you very much.
First of all, I'd like you to tell us what is your view on the state of the economy?
The state of Nigerian economy as of today could be better than what we are having. It's fair, so to say, but more frightening is the future in view of the recent challenges with regards to security situation and very recently the Ebola issue. So what I'm saying in essence is what we are having presently is a fair view, it's a fair performance for the economy. But in the next few months, we are likely to have something totally different. We don't see anything better than what we are having. If care is not taken, it may go down.
Now that you've mentioned the issue of Ebola, what impact do you think it had on businesses in the country?
You know, Nigeria is not an island. We relate with international communities, other countries. The effect of Ebola is it has stopped inward trade, I mean businesses coming into the country, and even for our business people traveling outside, they are being restricted, a situation where you can't, they won't come out or they've not been coming out outrightly that you shouldn't come. But there has been a kind of restriction or movement of business people. We've had situations where businesses are to have some meetings to consummate transactions, but have not been possible. And it's been predicted that in the next few months, if care is not taken, the investment that Nigeria is likely to lose may be going to about $3 billion. So it's having a serious effect. It's likely to have more impact in the future than now.
Now let's take a look at what's going on in terms of the real sector now, and this is in relation to lending by banks. What is the situation right now?
That's a good one. The level of lending to banks recently... Lending by banks. To businesses recently has been at a very low level for reasons best known. Challenges of securities in some areas where businesses are not doing well. And again, the recent experience of some bad debts, the banks have been involved. And recently, the directive from the CBN that banks are not to lend, or if they are to lend beyond the given threshold, they must get approval from the CBN, like you want to lend over 500 million naira by commercial banks, special clearance must be go from CBN for a development bank that is about to lend more than 250 million naira, you need a CBN clearance. These are kind of issues that need to be looked at. More importantly, the business climate itself is not good enough. The challenges of energy, challenges of market itself. So lending has not been all that attractive to banks.
Now, still on the issue of lending, and this is about the CBN debtor policy, we understand that the central bank has directed all commercial banks not to lend anymore to any business owner who is owing them. What is your position about this directive?
We are not going to support a situation where you will take bank loan and you will not want to pay back. The money doesn't belong to the banks. It's shareholders' funds. It's depositors' funds. So you owe it a duty to pay back your debt as and when due. That is where credit rating comes in. You will not want to do anything that will affect your credit rating in the economy. But in a situation where some people took loans and they were faced by challenges of security in the environment, like those people in the northeast zone, the farmers there that took so many billions of naira and couldn't operate because of Boko Haram issue. What we are saying is that each case should be treated on its own merit. Don't just make a blanket ban on debtors because they had issues, like somebody who took loan and it's having this, we have this Ebola issue around such that his business is not able to move on, and it can be proved. This kind of thing should be looked at on its own merit. You don't just make a blanket ban on everybody. You don't criminalize borrowing. Borrowing is part of doing business.
What do you think that the central bank should do as regards having to ensure that businesses have access to funding despite the challenge of having to pay back within a particular period of time?
Like I said, it's depositors' funds that needed to be guided jealously. But the point I'm making is that it should